and welcome back to the studio. My name is Clive of Clive's Art, and here we are again on episode 3. Yes, episode 3 it is, of the colour theory. Now, we've covered quite a few different things on the previous ones. We've done the hues, which is the red, orange, yellow, violet, blues and greens. We've also covered the primaries, the secondaries and the tertiary colours. We've had a look at intensity and we've had a look at value. Now today I want to start off the lesson with looking at tint. Now a tint is when you add white to a colour and you tint it with white. It's as simple as that. So we're going to have a look at a scale here now, and I'm going to pick a colour and I'm going to whiten it with white, and that's going to give it a tint of colour. Okay, so you will change the whole spectrum of that colour right to the white area. Now it's like a grayscale and it's also like a value, but what we're doing is actually tinting the colour. So it keeps its intensity and it keeps its value, but all we're doing is tinting it with white. So that's what you've got to think of, tinting with white. Don't get them confused. So let's get back to the easel. Okay, so for this particular example I'm going to use firstly a little bit of violet. So just put a bit of that up on the board. Let's get some kitchen roll and we'll put a bit of that in place. There you go. So that's a violet. So what we need to do now, we need to tint that particular colour with a touch of white. So we get a touch of white, we'll add that into the colour, purple, and we'll just tint it, and then you should see the difference if I put that next to it. So that's purple with a little bit of white added to it, and that's giving it a tint. So let me just put my hat safe because my head is starting to sweat, and there we are. We don't want to get paint on my hat. So okay, good. We're going to zoom in now and we're going to select another colour, and we'll tint that one up as well, so you see what happens. Okay, so for this example I'm going to use some red, so let's put a little bit of red in there. And again, just add a touch of white to that to get the tint. And wash your brush. On the next example, I'll just mix a bit of yellow, and again if we put a touch of white with that, and some of these colours you might have to add just a little bit more white than we did previously just to get the tint. There we go. And wash our brush. And then our next colour, which is our primary blue, or in this case ultramarine, but that's my particular choice. And again, just add a touch of white to that and wash our brush. And the next colour we can do is green. I'm not putting these in any particular order, if in case you're wondering. This is just as they come in. Just make that one a little bit bigger. And then we'll add a bit of white to that. And tint it. So there you go. That's all the tint is. Yeah, it's any colour plus white. So if you want to tint a colour, you add white to it. Easy, isn't it? Yeah. So hue, intensity, value, and now tint. Okay. So what's the opposite of white? Yes, you are right. Black. Now to do a shade, we add black to any colour. So we'll demonstrate that now, and I'll show you what a shade is. Okay, what is a shade? It's any colour plus black. So let's put our purple back up on our board, and then we need to add a little bit of black to that. And in this case, I'm just using a Mars black. I forgot to put the purple down first, so I'll put the shade in first. You can tell that I don't edit my videos. Yes. Right. Just wash my brush in there quickly. And let's go straight into my purple. Put that in there. So you can see, obviously, as you would expect, it's darker because it's a shade. Yes. Right, let's get a little bit closer, and we'll do the same with the red, yellow, blue, and the green as we did with the tint. So we got our red, and I'm looking at a touch, just a touch, a little touch of black to that. Oh, Clive, you did it again. Yes, I did. Come on. So let's put that in there. Bit of a theme going on here tonight. I'm making things difficult for myself. But we do all have fun, and that's the most important thing, is we have fun when we paint. So just put the plain red in where it belongs. My paint is actually drying up a bit on me tonight. That'll do. You can see the difference anyway. And now this time, if we remember, let's make sure there's no red left in my brush. Let's put the yellow in first. Let's put the yellow there. Now I'm expecting Mars black, because it has actually got a fair bit of blue in it, to actually turn this yellow into a more of a green than you think. So let's add a little bit of Mars black to that. And as I said, it's not quite green. So when you mix in black to get a shade, be very, very, very careful on how much you actually put into it. You know, you can be really, really conservative with black because it's such a strong pigment, and you just need to be a little bit mindful of that when you play in and mixing with colours, that your dark colours can be quite overpowering on times, so you need to be a little bit careful. Always try and start with your lightest colours first. So we're going into the blue now, and we're going to add a little bit of black to that. That's going to give us a shade. Looks quite like a Prussian blue actually. That does. So ultramarine blue and Mars black is Prussian blue. you don't need to buy much Prussian blue then, do you? No, you just need ultramarine blue, which is a primary colour, and you need a little bit of Mars black. But if you want to mix burnt umber and ultramarine blue together, you're going to get a Mars black anyway. So this is what I mean. Once you start playing with these mixes, you'll get to learn a lot about how the colours are actually made, or mixed I should say. There you go, and we add a little bit of black to the green. Where we're to, there we are. I'll make it a nice dark green. Quite simple, a little less complicated than what we were talking about in the previous video. So there you go, shade. It's any colour plus black, so a little bit of black and that'll give you a shade. So already we've covered a tint, which is adding any colour with a touch of white. So add a tiny bit of white to any colour and it's going to give you a tint. Add a little bit of black to any colour and it's going to give you a shade. As you can see the difference on our scales. We got the violet tint and the violet shade. We got the red tint and the red tint shade. We got the yellow tint and the yellow shade. We got the blue tint and the blue shade, and the green tint and the green shade. It's as simple as that. Now the next thing I've got to have a look at is tone, because we got hue, intensity, value, tints, shades. What is tone? Tonal value. Now, very similar to what we said with the intensity, but this time we're going to add, instead of its complement, a grey. This is a mixture between black and white, or a mix black plus white. So we've talked about mixing blacks in a different YouTube. I'll put a little link above my head here and a link in description to show you how to mix blacks. I'm not going to go through it now because it's quite intensive, so press on that link if you want to know how to mix black. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put another grid up, and then I'm going to mix a grey, which is just Mars black and white, and I'll get a grey around about around about that level there. I'll mix a grey for that, and then I'll add that to the colour and see what happens to that. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, you know, I know you put in masking tape on to make a little gradient there, but why are you painting white? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing this for, right? I've got a ground on the canvas, and there's another YouTube video about grounding, because I just want to take, I don't want any bright white showing through because it takes away from the colour. Now when we make the charts, I'll be going through this in a little bit more detail, but what I found is if I don't put some gesso down now over the top of the masking tape and onto the part I want to paint, there's two reasons for that. Is the first reason, it actually seals down the edge of the masking tape, so it stops any bleed through. As you can see, they're quite sharp, and if there is a little bit bleed through, it's only a little bit of white, so that's fine. And the other thing is, if I paint any hue on top of this particular colour, which is raw sienna mixed with gesso, it could actually affect how the colour looks, because if you place one colour on top of another colour, it can change the way it looks. And I'm not going down that road, that's another lesson completely, but that's the reason why I put gesso down, is to seal the edge of the masking tape, and so I've got a nice white background so you actually see the exact colour that I'm putting down, red, yellow, whatever. If I try to put yellow on top of this, it would change it completely the way it looks, because it's picking up the colour from what it's sitting on. But we'll talk about that again, we're not too worried about that. So let me just get this finished and we'll get back to doing the tone. Okay, starting again with the purple. Just mixing a little bit of that up. Let's put a bit of that on my palette. So there's the purple. Let's just make that a little bit stronger. There we are. So there's our purple, and now we're going to mix a little bit of grey that I made a minute ago by mixing Mars black and white. I'm going to add that to my purple. And again, making sure I get all this purple on my brush. Going to our red, which is a primary colour. Oops, a little bit of contamination. That's okay. These things happen. We're not too worried about that, Clive. No, we're not. Okay, there we are. So we put a bit of red up there, and we'll go in, pick a bit of grey, we'll mix that to the red, and then we'll put a block of red tone in there. And again, we go into our cadmium yellow, which is another primary colour. And we're going to add a little bit of grey to that. There you go. And this time we're going to put a little bit of blue, which is another primary colour. And to that, again, we're going to add a touch of grey. Or green. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of grey to that. So I've got some on my palette, so I'm just going to mix a bit of that green and the grey together, because that's gone a little bit dry up there now. And that concludes the total part of this tutorial. So let's just remove the masking tape and to show our gradient. And we need to label that up as tone. And there we are. There's another easy way, and that explains your tints, your shades and your tones. So a tint is any colour plus white. And a shade? Yes, any colour plus black. And finally, your tone is any colour that you got plus grey. Now you can mix greys with different combinations of colours, but I'm not going into that at this particular moment. And I think the next thing I've got to go on to now is complementary colours. I wanted to do that this time, but I'm going to be running out of video time, and that's another thing we need to do. So what I've got to do now is complete our main chart here, because I've got the intensity and I've got the neutrals. I just want to put the tone and the shades in place, and this actual chart that we've worked on first in the first lesson is virtually complete. So we'll have the primaries, the secondaries, the tertiaries. We've discussed warm and cool colours. We've discussed what a hue is, the intensity, chroma, saturation, etc. We've talked about shades, we've talked about tones, we've talked about value scales and what a hue is. We've discussed tint, we discussed a shade, and we discussed a tone. Now we're on our way to actually working on one of these behind me pretty soon. So all we need to talk about in the next lesson is complements. Now there's a couple of different ways to mix complements. There's this one and that one goes with that one, and this one over there goes with that one over there, and these two by here go to those two by there, and off. But I'll make it easy, yes, because I always do. Right, I'm going to put my head on. Put my head on, and I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, and I'm going to come back, I'm going to finish that chart, and then I'm going to bed because I'm quite tired tonight. Yes, it's quite late, it's around about 10 o'clock, and by the time I finish this up it's going to be about 11 o'clock, and I need my beauty sleep. Oh, there you go, there you are. Without further ado, my name is Clive from Clive's Art. May God go with you, and I hope this has been of interest. There is definitely another one coming, so when I get around to doing it I will. And yes, I hope you've learned a lot now. So we've covered quite a lot of the basics. If you haven't seen the other two previous ones to this, you need to click on the links below. I'll put the links in the description below. But if you're on a computer, I'll put the links around on my head round here somewhere. You just click on it, it'll come through, and there we go. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye bye. Nice. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Keep an eye out for my weekly updates. Join me on Facebook, they're always there, and they'll let you know what's coming up in that particular week. So may God go with you. I'm Clive from Clive's Art. Take care, thank you very much, and don't forget to give me that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Bye bye.